All right, you guys, welcome back to our Tuesday training and mastermind. As we always have here in EXP Family Tree, we are live. So welcome to you guys that are watching live that can attend us via Zoom. We do live stream this. It stays in our EXP Family Tree newsfeed forever. If you miss part of this, you have to log off early. Or if somebody tells you that they want to see it, please guide them in that direction. But we also are recording this, and we will have it out on my YouTube channel within 24 hours. So if there's someone outside of the industry, outside of EXP, it doesn't matter. If you want to bless somebody else with this information, you can take it from my YouTube channel and share it with anybody you'd like to. We always come from contribution. We're just here to help each other. And I love to spotlight and showcase people inside of our world. And Caryn Silvius is one of those people. She and her husband, Andy, are here at EXP in North Idaho with me. They've been in real estate together for a while. Caryn comes from a background in accounting and bookkeeping, and she's found that there is just a great opportunity to help real estate agents in particular, as well as investors or real estate agents that are investors, both, in this particular area, because it is such an important area. And for a lot of us, including myself, this is an area that we sometimes like to avoid, but it can also create problems for us. But even if it's not creating problems, we're missing opportunities. And so, we've been bringing some speakers in to talk a little bit about tax strategies and things of that nature. And I think these financial conversations are just very important for us as realtors and or investors. And so if you can take this information for yourself, that's first and foremost what we like. But if there's somebody that you work with that you think could get value, please share it with them. And also, for clients of yours that you think you could bring this information to, or investor clients. And so I'm going to go ahead and first introduce Caryn, and then this is going to be real casual. We're going to kind of talk just really, conversationally. I'm going to ask her some questions that I know are the most frequently asked questions that I get asked, or I personally have as a real estate entrepreneur. And then we're just going to open it up for you guys too. So I want you guys to make sure you start posting your questions in the chat. We'll make sure to get back to them, or you can just unmute yourself as we open it up for questions. So first and foremost, as I mentioned, Caryn has been in the real estate industry. And I think that is the most important thing, because at the end of the day, sometimes you can work with people on the accounting side or the bookkeeping side. And I've seen this oftentimes with myself and for other people that I've coached. But if they don't understand our industry, it can be a lot more challenging, or there can just be things that are missed. That's really common, at least from what I've seen. So I always find that that's one of the most important things I want to bring up. 1 second here. We've got more people joining. Okay, there we go. But beyond the fact that Caryn has industry experience, which I think is very important, just to give you a feel, she offers her services to real estate professionals, agents, team owners, investors, property managers, transaction coordinators, and more. But those are some of the more frequently common clients of Caryn's. And as a realtor herself, she really just, as I mentioned, she saw this demand. Because here's the thing that you said to me, Caryn, which is most realtors are unaware of how profitable their business actually is, let alone how much they are spending per transaction. And when you understand where your profit and losses really are, then you can make decisions. You can definitely trim the fat, which I think is very important in this upcoming market, but it can also help you to make informed decisions that are ultimately going to save you a lot of money or help you keep more of your money. And that's a theme that I think we've been talking about over the course of the last few months. That is really important. So, Andy and Caryn owned their own team, so they quickly learned in their own tracking of their own finances, things that they know are going to help other real estate agents. They also work with investors of multiple doors, and there's a lot of things on that side that I think could be beneficial for those of you that invest in real estate or for your clients. And so beyond the real estate background, Caryn, you've had 14 years of experience in bookkeeping prior to quitting the 9-to-5 to go work with Andy in real estate. And so once you realized that you could merge the two, that was such an amazing opportunity for you to basically start Olive Branch, right? Yeah. So you have 2 kids, you live in North Idaho. You guys are an awesome, couple that I know personally, and I just love having you as friends and colleagues, but I'm super excited for you to just really share some of your knowledge with the agents that are with us today. So is there anything that I missed that I should have said about you?
I think you got my entire life wrapped up right there. That was it.
I said, I know you're going to love talking about yourself, Caryn.
This
Awesome.
is not my comfort zone.
No. So Caryn is a bookkeeper. Okay. And so she's not loving this Zoom, but I think we could all give her a virtual clap here because I think she's going to do amazing. So if you can come on screen, awesome. If you can't, we understand you're busy. So it's always more fun to talk to people when they're on screen, but we understand. Hi, Candy. Hi, Garrett. Thanks for being on. So I came up with some questions that I wanted to just start asking Caryn, and I think it's just going to lead to further conversation. And I want you guys, as you start to hear what we're talking about, to share with us what kind of questions you guys have too. So please do not be shy. So the first thing that I asked Caryn when she and I met was, talk to me about some of the things that you're seeing when you start working with a realtor and or an investor, when it comes to taking the bookkeeping on so that you as an outsider have looking in can see some parts of their business. Like, what are the most common things that you see that you're like, this is going to really help you to grow your business because now you're going to have some of the insights, right? And also, what are some of the pitfalls that you get to see because now you have insight and you can share it with them. So what are some of the exciting opportunities that you're seeing, Caryn, and what are some of the pitfalls, if you don't mind?
So one of the biggest struggles I think I run into with a lot of my clients is instead of tracking their expenses, they look at their bank account. And that's how they track their expenses and their income. They just look at their bank account and assume that's the money they have to use. They don't understand that they have auto payments that are going to be drafted at certain times. So that leads to bank fees and overdrafting. And then they're not tying it to specific projects, which are like your properties. If you have investment properties, or you're working with multiple clients on deals, you're not tying those expenses or income to those to understand, am I actually being profitable? If I'm spending $1,000 on marketing for one property for a listing I have, and then I have a referral fee on top of that, and I've got dues and subscriptions I have to pay for, and I take clients out for meals and entertainment, and at the end of the day, I make $4,000. Well, you're not really making $4,000 if you have all those expenses. So maybe you're negative, who knows? If you're not tracking it correctly. So that's a big pitfall I think I've run into with a lot of investors. And specifically, I have an investor at Keller Williams who's got 26 properties that he's working with, 12 that are long-term, short-term rentals, and the rest are flips. And he was paying someone who was not a QuickBooks user, and it ended up costing him $40,000 for all those properties over the course of 12 months because he didn't properly do it. And then he became 18 months behind, and he was behind on taxes. And then he had to pay all the late fees for his IRS tax fees and all sorts of stuff. So when you have the right person, I think it helps you prepare for the most dreaded time. It's the most dreaded time for me, even like tax season is stressful. So I can only imagine how you guys feel, if you're not tracking anything, and you're just giving your CPA a bag full of receipts and being like, good luck. Have fun.
And crossing our fingers.
Yeah. Hopefully you get it done in 2 weeks. So that's a big thing for me. That's what I see struggles with people.
Yeah, two things. You don't know what your expenses are per transaction, which I think is actually a very empowering piece of knowledge if you can get that.
Yeah.
Because also, you can make small adjustments that can make a big difference. It's our mentality, a lot of us in real estate, and I'm speaking from experience because I am like a lot of you in my personality profile. I'll just have this idea that I'll just go make more money. 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 But the problem with that philosophy is we wouldn't have to run and make more money if we were keeping more of it. And oftentimes it's just small decisions we can make that allow us to keep more of it, but we can't make those decisions if we don't know what we don't know.
Exactly.
So as I was sharing with Caryn, and I think I've shared this with a lot of you, we did get a professional bookkeeper before we met Caryn. And so now we're going to be speaking with Caryn about this opportunity, but we did that because we really wanted. Also, if you work with a spouse or a business partner, it is very nice to have a third party who can really look at your information and bring it forth to you so that you can as a couple make an educated decision that is based by a professional versus you two trying to
Fight it out.
one of you manage it, the other person say you're not doing it right, whatever.
Yeah.
So that was like our original, but then our aha was we had so much more visibility that we were on the same page and making so many better decisions. So then we thought, well, why aren't we doing this personally too? Because we don't look at our personal finances nearly enough. We don't even know what we're spending every month on groceries. We're just going and doing what we do, and we're so busy. So when we brought a personal bookkeeper in, it actually brought so much awareness to our personal expenses. It actually saved us money.
Yep.
And so visibility usually saves you money. How many of you, by a raise of hands, think that you have subscriptions that you're paying for that you have no idea what it is and you certainly don't use, personally or professionally? I know I still do, and I'm constantly thinking about it. It's like we don't have always the time to dig into that, right? We got to go sell the next house. We've got kids. We've got all these things. Let somebody else do that. By the time they brought you the insight, helped you save money on some subscriptions, helped you understand where you could cut some of your expenses, you would still be ahead money, even though you were paying somebody to do it. And more importantly, you're more prepared for tax season. You're more accurate and ready for tax season. And they might be able to even help you categorize things and so forth, so you get better write-offs, so you actually save money in taxes too. Right? So it's, yes, you're exactly right, Candace. It's not business problems, it's personal problems showing up in business, which would be us spending too much money and not thinking about it. You're exactly right. So, all right. So pitfalls are, we don't track our business or our personal. We don't know what we're spending per transaction. We probably aren't categorizing anything because we're just looking at our bank accounts. We actually don't have a P&L or a QuickBooks or anything. Therefore, we really don't have the ability to, accurately portray that to a tax person. It's probably pretty marginal at best. And there's things we're missing out on. Those are some of the pitfalls. Where have you seen any success stories or like things that people became aware of that, you could just share with us that might inspire somebody to go, oh yeah, that probably is me. And there is some hope for my chaos over here. Like somebody started working with you and they've really been able to get organized and it's helped their life or their business.
Yeah. So my agent at KW, I was telling you about, that has the 26 different properties. Before I got a hold of his books, it was just chaos. And he tried to do the right thing and he got the QuickBooks account. He tried to categorize it as best as he could, but he didn't have it well organized in there, for a better lack of words. And he ended up spending 40 grand on somebody who didn't know how to use it. Then he ended up paying me on top of that. So he ended up costing himself more money because I had to come back in and clean everything up.
Right.
And he had late fees and all that. But not only that, he didn't understand his software and what it can actually do for you. You not only can have one business in QuickBooks, you can have multiple businesses in QuickBooks if you set it up correctly. And then you can also track each project. So if he's got multiple properties for multiple businesses, you can track profit and losses on each one of those properties. And he had no idea that even existed.
Yeah.
And so I think for him, it was nice because he could go to that property tab and see how much he's spending before he goes and sells it, to say, okay, this whole job cost me $600,000. I know I need to price it higher than that to make a profit on that.
Otherwise,
so
you just be guessing.
Yeah. And that's what he was doing before, where he was ending up either barely skating by or he was losing money because he was unsure. He just didn't know.
It's just the lack of clarity. So if any of you have a real estate business, a second business, or a real estate business and an investment property, or you have clients who have multiple investment properties, number one, they shouldn't be doing the bookkeeping because they've got enough to do. Exactly. And they should stay in their strength zone. But if they have somebody who understands real estate categorizations, real estate businesses, investing in real estate, and you can really set it up so you have visibility into every project or every property or every short-term rental or multiple businesses, it really can be helpful. And so one person that can do that versus maybe right now, people are sometimes using multiple people, or they're doing this on their own. They're using this person for this. They're using this person for this. It gets to be confusing and it gets to be costly. So I think that is also the other thing is, again, the visibility should save you money, but are you also, paying too much for these services, which I think sometimes, just like anything, we can all get kind of roped into spending too much for something that maybe isn't bringing us value. So talk about taxes. How do you think that you've been able to, how does bookkeeping help people prepare for tax season throughout the year? How does it help them prepare to be able to keep more of their money, to have more write-offs? Have you seen anything in that regards that you could share specifically, or are there some tips or some things people should be aware of that you've noticed?
Because I'm not a tax specialist myself, I'm just a bookkeeper. Taxes are not my favorite thing. I like to organize, but I don't like laws. But I have a tax specialist that I partner with, and he's nationwide. He's all over the country. In fact, I think he just opened up outside of the country in like Australia as well. Cool. He's super awesome, but he's my guy. I talk to him multiple times a day about if my client has a question about taxes, or like just recently this year, we just found out today, my husband and I were talking about it, that you can only write off 50% of your meals and entertainment now as of 2023. How can you kind of get around that? Like, what is the gray area? Technically, there could be gray areas in that. There's always a loophole in some sort of a tax write-off when you look at that. But that's why I have a tax specialist, because we talk to him about that, and my clients bring it to me and I reach out to him and give the answers. So I'm like that middleman, right? Like, I may not know all the answers, but I got someone who does.
So that's great. So that's another thing to look at. Do you have a bookkeeper who has a lifeline of a tax person who can ask these questions? Because then Caryn can go to all of her clients and say, hey, did you know this? Here's a couple other things that, according to the tax specialist, you can do now, since you can only write off 50% of this. So let's make sure we have this in a category. Make sure that when you're spending, we're thinking about this and we're putting more in here, because it's going to help you at tax time. So that's something that you should absolutely be asking your bookkeeper if you already have one, or something that obviously Caryn does for her clients. And I think that's a great idea. If you don't have a tax person, you can just call up on the whim, then hopefully your bookkeeper can. So what is QuickBooks? That's the software that you use. If somebody were kind of, working in their own to try to get things set up. Now, this is what you said to me, is you have a lot of these consultations. By the way, Caryn offers free consultations. She'll have her information in here. And she's actually met with a number of people in my group that have been really excited to talk with her, because they needed to get their affairs in order. They need to get some things done so that they can continue to take advantage of their business in positive ways on the financial side. And she's done a phenomenal job with providing them that information. What are some of those things that you share with people generally that they need to do at first to get prepared, to get ready? Or is it just kind of like, we're getting ready to get ready here. Let's just jump in and do this.
So that's a great question. So a lot of my conversations, I love telling people my favorite trick is the accounts. So even if you're just a real estate agent, solo agent, or team, whatever it is, set up an LLC. It will protect your personal assets, your personal bank accounts. It's completely separate from your business. You get paid through that business account. I always suggest doing that. When you own properties, also set up different LLCs for those properties as well, because each asset is going to be protected in layers if you have different entities. So it's not tied to your actual person. My other one is the bank accounts. 4 bank accounts per LLC. You have an expense account, which is where all of your debit cards and your checks are coming out of. You have an income account, which is where all your income goes into. Then you have a tax account. So if you pay quarterly taxes, you're going to transfer a very small percentage of your income directly into that tax account every time you get income, whatever number that looks like to you. And then an investment account or an emergency fund account. And then you're also taking another small percentage of your income every time you get income, and you're transferring it directly into that account as well. Your tax account and your investment account, those are going to be savings accounts. Then you can earn interest on all the money you're transferring over there, and it'll just compound month after month. So those are the 4 accounts I always suggest people get for all of their LLCs, no matter what LLC they have.
Love it. Any
Yeah.
questions on that, you guys?
And I can definitely, if you guys want to shoot me your email, I can write that all down for you and shoot it off in an email.
Yeah, I can attach that to everything, you guys. Anything that she provides me after, I'll include it in our link below this live stream for everybody.
Okay.
And Candace, I can make sure to get it to you as well. Any comments on that? How many of you have multiple accounts in an LLC or an S corp right now? Andy, if you didn't, you'd be in big trouble.
I set them up for them.
Awesome. So, I mean yes, Joanne, do you have a question? I
Just
can't hear you. Oh, there you are.
Oh, sorry. Caryn, can you just repeat the 4 accounts? And thank you, Caryn has met with me and you're amazing. And I just actually went to the bank today.
Nice.
And did it today.
Good job.
And a screenshot that you sent me was blurry. So I was working through the 4 accounts.
Okay.
So I got the expense, the income tax, and what was the last one? Investment?
The investment / emergency fund. So you'll use that for like office furniture, or say your business happens to go on, a business retreat, right? You go on vacation, business retreat. You can put all the money in there, and that's what you would use to fund those events, right? Or downtime, real estate. Isn't it so fun? We got our first paycheck last month, but we hadn't gotten paid since October. Okay. That's real estate for you. Sometimes that happens. So that emergency fund's kind of your buffer for your business expenses, right? So just make sure you save up for it.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I love when it's, and so tell me about this, because somebody told me this. Is it true that, and we don't do this, we probably should, but I heard this before and I thought it was genius. I don't do it. But is it true that when you have income coming in, you can actually set percentages to automatically drop into those accounts with your bank, or some banks will do that? Or do you have to always manually do that?
I'm not sure. Some banks may do that. I think EXP even does that as well. Well, if you do direct deposit with them, I know KW did, where if you set it up, you can have a set percentage go off, but I'm not sure. I would have to look into your bank account. Some do, some don't.
Yeah, I think some banks do that, where literally you can say, for this business account, if money comes in, it's $10,000, I want 8,000 to go into this, and then this and this and this, and it will automatically do it. And that helps us as human beings to not have to forget to transfer the money, or oops, we spent it and I forgot to transfer, because that's what we do.
But that's why you have a bookkeeper. Who does it for you, Cari?
Okay, good point. So the bookkeeper is going to know exactly what percentages, they're going to track it, and they're going to move that money for you, and then they're going to allocate it all appropriately, and you don't even have to think about it. That's awesome. It's very, so let's pivot. Does anybody have investor clients or are investors? And do you have bookkeeping services? I'm just curious, for each individual property, so that you know exactly what that property is benefiting you or not. Instead of a holistic approach to business, have you gone property by property? I find that to be really interesting. And I've known a lot of investors who have not done it that way, but to me, it makes a whole lot of sense.
Okay, say that again. I'm sorry. I was
distracted. Not you. I was asking.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait,
does anybody have? Yeah, Sarah, I'd be interested to know, because you've done a lot of investing.
Yeah. So I was actually interested when she was talking about having a separate LLC for each individual property. I've been investing for like 15 plus years. And so I only have a couple of LLCs. And so I have multiple sets of properties in each LLC. And I've just recently learned that I should have been doing it differently. Same thing. I, keep track of all of my like maintenance and expenses and things like that, but I don't itemize it out into each category. And so I'm actually under contract. I'm selling an 8-plex right now. And it's like a $900,000 property. And I have good record keeping, but not great as far as which expense versus which units. And so fortunately, this buyer is a real estate agent and is a seasoned investor and is okay with it. But I'm actually in the process of trying to sell a mobile home park, and I'm finding myself, I kind of screwed myself over, because I don't have an accurate record of like what was capital expenditures versus what was maintenance and repairs.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's an unintended consequence I didn't think about. Like when you go to sell, if you have these itemized out, what a great value. So good, very good point, Sarah.
And you have to be really careful. I mean, again, like I'm a very like, I don't like to fudge numbers or anything like that, but yeah, you have to be super careful when you're choosing which categories to put it in to
Yep.
make sure that you're looking at the downside of taking the extra deductions or whatever. I sold a restaurant one time and my clients had not been calculating their profits correctly. And then they went to
Oh,
sell
no.
it and they were pissed because I couldn't like prove the value. And it's like, well, you were taking this deduction for 10 plus years.
Oh, no.
Like you can't say you were making this much revenue plus take the deduction. It
Right.
doesn't work that way.
No.
Ooh, good point.
Yeah.
So you're not only looking to optimize your properties and your knowledge and have clarity and insights into all your properties while you own them, but you do have to be thinking ahead because someday you might not want to own them anymore. And when you sell them, this is going to make a big, big difference.
Yep.
Speaking of, we had, and you probably, Sarah, know this, but when it comes to investing in real estate, and actually we had somebody come on that said the exact same thing, have an LLC for every single property, because otherwise, if something happens with one property, now they have access to all your properties. And if you do it individually, it is isolated to one. You may also, if you're a landlord, you want to protect yourself as much as possible. And so you're going to want to look at the states that are going to be more landlord friendly. And the number one state where you can open up your LLCs, and probably should, and I'm just saying this because I'm repeating it, I'm not an expert, but I've heard this now from 3 professionals who are investors, and they all open up their LLCs per property in the state of Wyoming. Wyoming is
that
very
too.
very landlord
Yeah.
friendly. There are a couple others as well, but the one that comes up the most with the most seasoned investors I know is Wyoming. So if you're going to go ahead and open up an LLC for all your properties, you may want to look into that, of course, do your own research, but yeah, very cool. So what other questions? What are you guys running into? What are your biggest challenges and struggles, business owner or investor, when it comes to your finances? And by the way, you're not expected to be like a finance guru there. This is a safe space because I've been the worst with money over the years. So I'm the first one to admit to it. I always say, thank goodness I met my husband, because I just let him kind of run with that stuff because I'm just not good with it. I know my strength zone, money is not one of them. And in a way, it's a limiting belief. I've grown in that area too. So I kind of, all kidding aside, but, you know, really, truly, we need to make sure we know our limitations. We know our mindsets around money. We know our shortfalls, because we all have weird mindsets around money, you guys. That's a whole conversation we could get into. You either think that there's enough of it and you never have to worry about it and you spend too much, or you never think there's enough and then you don't spend it when you should. I mean, you know, we all have limiting beliefs and ways we were raised, and, you know, all of these things that our society says, you know, money doesn't grow on trees, but then there's like, you know, money's the root of all evil. And then you've got some people saying money's the good for that it will do. It's just a tool. It's like, what do you believe? You know, and we all can change our beliefs around money. But if we're stuck in a belief system, it might hold us back from actually reaching out to someone like Caryn to help us. It did for me for a while. And yet it would have been the best thing I could have done earlier on. You know, so I rejected something because of my belief in it, or my insecurities in it. And it really could have like saved a lot of my stresses over the years. So I'd love for you guys to be vulnerable, share questions, share ideas, ahas, because it's a weird subject, but it's an important one. And it literally could change the face of your business in 2023 if you decide to do something different about it.
Yeah. A lot of people get really embarrassed when they come to me. They're like, I don't want to show you my books. They're so embarrassing. Or I don't even have books. They're so embarrassing. And I'm like,
No,
I have
that's
seen
why
it
I'm
all.
here.
I have seen it all. Like, trust me, like nothing could be embarrassing at all.
And by the way, Caryn, you're the one, you're probably like, that's why I'm here. Like you know, I wouldn't have a job if you'd be perfect in money, right? So this is your strength and this time.
I met a client yesterday who is behind 4 years on his taxes.
Oh.
And he reached out to me, and he's got 9 properties he's bought in that time frame. And he literally handed me a bag of stuff, closing statements, bank statements, receipts, just you name it. And he was like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. And I literally lit up. It was like Christmas to me. I was like, I'm so excited. I can't wait to look through all of this. And he's like, seriously? And I'm like, yes, I know it's weird, but I love it.
I love that. See, isn't that great? Somebody's biggest like challenge is the other person's greatest joy and like
Yes.
strength zone. And that's the cool thing. And that's what makes the world go round.
Yep.
So Stephanie asked, what accounting software do you prefer? QuickBooks, right?
I prefer QuickBooks. Yes, I actually just had a client I met with on Friday who's been using Sage, which is really funny. It was what I used 15 years ago when I first got into bookkeeping. I didn't even know they were still around, but they haven't changed their software since 15 years ago.
15 years.
Like I was running reports for her and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. You need to move to QuickBooks. It's so intuitive. But yes, QuickBooks is my favorite. People get a little nervous on the cost of QuickBooks because it is a monthly fee and you see that broken down monthly and you add it up and you're like, oh my gosh, it's going to be so expensive. But this client I met on Friday, she was spending $1,400 a month on her Sage software. It wasn't as intuitive. She couldn't run payroll through it. She couldn't pay taxes through it. She couldn't track her projects like we're talking about. So this one's more expensive. What she would have to do for payroll and to track projects was going to cost her somewhere around $300 a month, which is $3,600 a year. But now she doesn't have to pay a CPA $610 a month to pay her payroll taxes. So it's actually saving her like $5,800 a year, even though the subscription costs more. So
that's the thing is if you're paying multiple people or multiple, you've got QuickBooks, but then you have to pay this person to prepare and you have payroll and you have this and that. So for QuickBooks, for the most part, it can do it all is what you're saying.
Yep, it does. It pays your payroll for your people and then you can track their time for them too. And then payroll taxes are all ran out of there. And it does it for you. It basically sends it off and you're done.
Very cool. So 2 chats in the chat box about that. Stephanie said QuickBooks desktop or online or doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Personally, I like online better because it's got those project tabs for you, whereas the desktop doesn't. You have to run it all through what's called classes, which can be kind of daunting if you don't know what you're doing in there. But the online one I think is better.
Perfect.
Yeah.
If you have multiple, investment properties and things, it sounds like that.
Yes.
Online is going to be a better option. Sarah, you had a link that you included too. Just for everybody to use if they want. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
it's just a QuickBooks link.
Cool.
I have another one. I was trying to find it. I've heard really good things about Xero. Have you used them at all?
XERO one?
XERO.
Yeah, I've heard good things. I haven't used it though, but I've had a couple of people tell me they've used it before and liked it.
So I signed up and I have an account and everything, but I'm so integrated into QuickBooks.
I know, me too.
It seemed like it might be cheaper with having multiple classes using Xero, but I've been using QuickBooks for so long that I haven't wanted to switch. But if someone's doing something new, it might be something to look into.
It might be a little bit easier for them because QuickBooks can be very daunting.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot to look at.
So check into XERO if you are looking at maybe doing it yourself, just another option. That's not a bad idea. Because I wouldn't touch QuickBooks with a 10-foot pole, just so y'all know. But I also don't do my own bookkeeping for that same reason. I would have someone like Caryn doing it. Okay, Garrett says the importance of keeping receipt copies. I use QuickBooks and feel I do a great job keeping track of everything through the year via those accounts, but I never kept hard copies of those transactions, just the QuickBooks account. Thoughts?
So QuickBooks is really cool. If you have the online version, you can download an app. And if you get a receipt, you can take a picture from your app and it automatically will put it into QuickBooks for you and then attach it to your transaction. So it's always in there and then you can just toss the receipt. But if you ever got audited, an auditor is going to want to see that receipt. And if you can't provide a receipt, it's very likely the auditor is going to ask you to remove it from your business and then it'll become a personal taxable income that you have to pay taxes back on.
So one of the things is if, as a backup plan, I guess it's not ideal, but if you use like a specific business credit card or something like I do for points, you could go back and try to find it. If you forgot the receipt, it would be very daunting to do that work, but it's kind of like a backup plan. So ideally get in the habit of grabbing the app. I didn't know that. That's awesome that the QuickBooks has an app so you could just quick snap it. I mean, you go to the store, boom, I'm done. And then I'm just not going to have to worry about it because keeping those receipts is kind of a nightmare.
It is a nightmare. Yeah, for sure.
What else? What other questions you guys have?
Joanne's asking about my YouTube channel. I technically do have a YouTube channel. There's nothing up yet because my husband and I have been working every week on recording content for you guys, tips and tricks, how to accurately put expenses in, how to track your income, how to look at your profit and loss, how to actually read your profit and loss, all that stuff. So I'm building it for you guys before I tell you guys. But it's happening.
She's getting a little ready to get ready. It's okay. You know, her personality profile is different than us realtors. So
I know.
I'm excited for it to be launching. And I'm sure that, you know, by you guys giving her the encouragement you are today, she'll get it out there faster for all of us. And because Caryn is a wealth of knowledge. And when I first asked her if she would come on and do this, she's like, Zoom, what? This isn't my comfort zone. I was like, yes, but this is stuff that we all need to talk about more. Even just having the conversation about money is really important for entrepreneurs. It's one of those things where we just like kind of want to avoid it oftentimes, and we just like shove it under the rug. But by having conversations, you grow into those conversations around you. And money is a very powerful tool, and it is good for the good that it can do. And we all deserve to make more money. And we were all meant to live in abundance and then give abundantly. That's what we're put on this earth for. So we have to start slowly but surely removing our limiting beliefs. And also, you know, if we're not good with money, and that's the story we tell ourselves, like I did for a lot of years, we have resources and we can learn from having, like, I've learned so much about my own mindset around money, and even just being better at looking at it and my own habits by having a bookkeeper. It has really helped me grow my mindset around money, which was something I didn't expect, but it's been a really positive benefit of having the bookkeeper. So any other questions? What else? We have Caryn here to answer them. So I know it's one of those things. How many of you have an LLC? With a show of hands, and if you're not on screen, you can raise your little virtual hand. How many of you have a bookkeeper already? Okay, so the rest of you doing it yourself. How many of you that are doing it yourself feel like you're doing it to the level of like that you have true awareness and tax savings and categorizations, and you're taking full advantage? Okay, Lisa, I'm gonna say Lisa probably does, because she's got that mindset and that analytical side. I think that the majority of us are like, you know, we're doing it basically just enough so that we have something on paper. But it's hard to take full advantage doing it by yourself. Stephanie, exactly. So Stephanie, who's in Branson, they have a team. They're doing a lot of business. She's running the team, and she's also doing the bookkeeping. It's just a lot, you know, it's a lot to manage, and it's a full-time job. I mean, Caryn, you do this full-time, right? So you're working all the time, looking at these things, managing it, moving things around, talking to the tax person, keeping people up to date on the new tax laws and what they should be doing and how they should be categorizing. How do we all have the time in the day to do that on top of what we're doing? And I think that's the real question to ask yourself is, you know, where am I getting the biggest return on my investment of time? And, you know, what brings me joy? What gives me the most reward? Probably not doing my own bookkeeping. And then, you know, where can we put that time? Where can that time and that energy be better spent? And I think it's a clarifying question, whether we're talking about financials or something else. It's just an important clarifying question to ask ourselves all the time. What are we actually doing that maybe would be better for somebody else to do? And then what would we do with that time if we got it back that could make a big impact in our business or our life? Because it all adds up. Even if you're only spending an hour a week, I mean, that's 4 hours a month. What could you do with that time? That would really give you a better return and a better reward. I actually did my Motivation Monday today by accident because it's Tuesday, but that's another story. But I talked about the 3 clarifying questions that you should ask yourself. And it was literally about what are you, you know, spending your time doing? And the 3 questions you should ask yourself: what do you have to do? Like, what are you required to do? Because as human beings, there's just things we're required to do. What gives us our biggest return, and what gives us our biggest reward? The third one, we hardly ever ask ourselves, because we do what we're required of and we do what gives us a good return on our investment most of the time. But what we don't realize is that time is our biggest and most important asset, you guys. And if we're not doing the things that give us the biggest reward, and that could mean impact, that could mean my financials, it could mean joy and happiness, you know, then we're missing out on a good portion of our life. And we should be asking ourselves those questions. That's going to require us to remove certain things off of our calendar. That's going to require us to say no to certain things. And I just want to enlighten you guys and to say, you know what? It's okay to have somebody else work on your finances. You're not a failure. In fact, I think that you're a business owner if you actually look at this. So Caryn, we were talking the other day. Some people are a little bit nervous about the expense of it, but you just said, you know, as an example, the last like handful of clients, after a couple of months of working together, realize that they're actually now like not paying you anything because you've saved them as much as you actually charge them in multiple things. And it usually takes a couple of months to get settled in and for you to have insight into the business to create those solutions or those suggestions and for people to make optimizations. But I think for the most part, all of you could probably find some ways to keep more of your money or save more money or eliminate some expenses or some subscriptions to the point where you would actually probably not be spending any money. And man, you would now have this leveraged off your plate. You'd have a peace of mind. You'd have more visibility into your business, and you'd buy that time back. And that was really the point of today's call, is to encourage those of you that are trying to do everything on your own. Because as I've been a coach for 12 years now, you know, financially, I would say, bookkeeping, taxes, having insight to business, knowing expenses, managing their business like a business is probably a top challenge for most entrepreneurs. And for your investor clients, Sarah was a great example. Like Sarah is a massive, awesome investor, agent. I mean, all these things. You start doing that. And Sarah, you started investing in real estate a long time ago. But you know, you start doing these things and then pretty soon you've got multiple properties and you just aren't thinking about it. And you know, you don't know what you don't know. And so, gosh, what if you guys could just go to all your investor clients and just give them a couple of tips today? You know,
Yeah.
Did you know you could do this per property, and you could manage all of your, you know, expenses and profits per property within a QuickBooks. And this is how you do it. You could have somebody do that. Would probably save you money. It would help in taxes. It will help you when you go to sell. Oh, and by the way, did you know that you should have an LLC in each, you know, property? And here's some things I've learned. Let them go do their own research, but is anybody else giving them these suggestions and solutions? Be a connector, connect them to Caryn. She works with people across the country. I have built my business on connecting people with other professionals that have brought them value in their life and business. I don't have to be the one doing it, but if I know people that are great, let's just bring people to people, because they're going to be so grateful for you and they're going to continue to work with you as a realtor. Right?
Right now is a really good time even to just do posts about like that you need to do an extension on your, you know, business taxes if you haven't filed them already. Just doing little reminders and things like that. And I think it also, there's a paradigm shift that needs to happen. At least that's how it was for me. I know that especially as your like company is growing, that you feel like you have to be the one that's wearing all those hats. I know for me as like a wife and a mother, I had to really have a paradigm shift as well of that highest and best use of time. And for me, that's hiring to have someone come in and do my laundry. Someone comes in and does my cleaning and things like that. And it feels like yucky almost, because it's like, oh, this is what I was, you know, meant to do, or I should be doing this. If I love my family more, I would do this. But it's like, no, my time is worth way more than $15 to $20 an hour.
Right.
And so once you can like change that shift in your brain and say like, okay, no, I'm okay with this because I know that I am leaving enough of myself for what is truly important to me and utilizing my time efficiently doing the other things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
Andy, you and I just talked about that on a podcast.
Yeah, something I wanted to add too, because obviously Caryn's my wife. And so I would be in the group of realtors that just didn't look at my finances ever if it wasn't for her. But there's something powerful about just reviewing your finances all the time. We look at our finances monthly, our profit and loss, and we still eliminate costs that we don't even realize are there. Or you just don't pay attention to it. Like we sign up for new marketing things and it's $25 a month here or there. And we've eliminated at certain times in our business, $600 a month that we just weren't utilizing. But you don't realize it until you look at it all the time and realize like, oh, wow, there's $25 here, there's $50 here, another 100 there. So it makes a big difference.
Yeah. Well, it's funny what you said, Sarah. Andy and I were doing a podcast and we were talking about getting the house cleaner, or Aaron. Didn't we call you that? Andy and Caryn, Aaron?
Yeah, just combine us. Usually people call us Candy, but I mean, Caryn is fine too.
I love that, Candy. I'm going to call you guys that now.
Do it.
Andy's gonna be like, oh, great.
I know.
But like you guys talked about that laundry service for a period of time. And then
know.
you just like have this mindset, like Sarah, like, okay, am I just a loser here? Why am I not doing the domestic things I'm supposed to be doing?
I felt too
And-
bougie.
Yeah, it's too
It was
bougie. That's how you feel. And you're
horrible.
like, but it's not, because
I
you're
know.
so much so like well spent doing other things.
Yep.
But like society has kind of made us think that way. And
Yeah.
so Sarah, to your point, when we're the business, we're like, gosh, like I shouldn't have to have somebody else do my bookkeeping for me. I should just be able to do that myself. Am I not a business owner? And it's like, sure, anybody can figure out how to do things, but is it really what you should be doing? Or could you go sell another house and make, 10 times how much it just cost you to pay a bookkeeper? Like the point is that there are just decisions we have to make, and we should stop allowing society or our own limiting beliefs or whatever to tell us what's right and wrong. And we should just do what we think we should do. But that's easier said than done. So thank you for bringing that up, Sarah, 'cause it's a really good point.
Yeah, I think it's a blessing as a real estate agent. I think all entrepreneurs have to deal with that of like figuring out what your highest and best use of time is. But us as agents have such a high dollar amount per hour when you're
Yes.
actually going out and making money. It's very easy to make those decisions, compared to like if you're making $25 an hour at a different job.
Right.
It's a little bit harder to say, okay, I'm going to pay someone $20 to do my laundry. But when you're making $200 or $300 an hour, it's a lot easier.
Yeah. Have you
So
guys
again,
ever done like your goal planning specifically where it breaks down your hourly rate?
Yeah, how many know what your hourly rate is? It's a good question.
I
Yeah.
love that one. It's my favorite date night with my husband is we'll sit down and we'll goal plan, and it breaks it down like based off of your vacations and like the holidays you have to take off, all that. And it tells you your dollar amount. And I'm just like, it's cool to see.
Yeah.
The nerd comes out of me.
Andy, is that your favorite date night too?
He was the one who originally got me to do that with him one date night.
That's awesome.
No, I think it's important, but yeah, I wouldn't want to do that on a regular basis.
We
That's
just
not
happen
my-
to.
Karen's like, can we do that worksheet again? He's like, no, we did that already once this month.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. If you guys want to know about the worksheet. So first, before we forget, because we're coming up to time, Caryn, can you make sure you chat all your information in the chat box, please?
Sure.
Because I want to make sure people can reach out to you if they do want a free strategy session or just to pick your brain or ask about QuickBooks. Sarah posted that link if you want to check that out too. Sarah is just an awesome, guru on technologies and softwares and marketing, by the way. If you don't know her yet, she's my partner down in Utah. That's where she lives now. Used to be in Montana, which is why usually her name says Sarah Montana, but anyways, it is Sarah Smith. And that's a whole nother story because I thought her actual last name was Montana for a long time until I realized it wasn't. But she is full of, if you need a system or a technology, check her out on Workplace and just ask her a question. She has so many really cool things, and a lot of the affiliate links and stuff she provides gives discounts because her and her fiance just do a ton of things in the tech space. So she's a great resource for you guys as well. Caryn put all of her information, including the Calendar link. I'm going to grab all that, put it underneath the live stream in our EXP family tree for everyone as well. So you can pull it there if you don't grab it today. Did you guys think a little bit differently about your finances or bookkeeping, or did you take something away that you could go do something with today? Anybody have an aha they want to share? I see Garrett shaking his head. He's going to get that app.
I think I was thinking more about when I'm introducing my investor clients, when I'm doing all my calculations with my cap rates and internal rate of return, and just kind of using you as a partner to continue that on so they have success.
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah. Candy, who we should also introduce Caryn to is Jeremy too, and just make sure that they're connected. So if they have any new investor clients, I think it's really important when you're new to investing, that you set it up from the beginning correctly. If
Yes.
I would want just somebody to help me from the start so I didn't get into some bad habits or have to go redo a bunch of stuff from the past. That's always a lot more costly and time consuming. So if somebody's just getting into it, it would be a great service so they don't have to stress out about that. So if you are working with any investor clients, you may want to just ask them that question and bring some additional value outside of just the real estate sales transaction to them for sure.
Yeah.
And maybe what we could do, Caryn, is have you come back on and talk specifically about investing in real estate bookkeeping and how that looks. And then we could have our agents invite their investor clients
Yeah.
And then we could record it and people could send it out, and that would be great. So we'll, you and I will talk offline and schedule that, and then we can really promote it because, you know, the more I think about the trainings and stuff we do, if there's something that we do that you think a client of yours could get value from, invite them to the Zoom. It doesn't always have to be us as real estate professionals. We have small business owner clients, right? We have other entrepreneur clients. Sometimes we're talking about social media. Sometimes we're talking about bookkeeping. Sometimes we're talking about tax strategies. Sometimes we're talking about mindset or leadership. This can apply to everybody, not just us as real estate professionals. These are the people we get our business from. These are where we get referrals. We're trying to deepen these relationships so we can get more business. So let's bring those people on the journey with us and invite them and bring value to their business and their life. And I can guarantee you guys will have enough business to sustain you if you continue to bring value to people. So use Caryn as a resource, use the others that you meet here in EXP Family Tree as a resource, Sarah as a resource, and everybody else. Andy and I just dropped our first 2 episodes of our podcast. So people were asking, I put it in the chat. It's called The Wealthy Entrepreneur. Check us out, give us feedback, go follow us, give us a like, something. We're having fun having our conversations, and we would like to bring you along with it. We also have a Facebook group, which is called the same thing if you want to join it. Anybody else have anything before we end? All right, you guys, this will be on my YouTube by tomorrow, and it is on EXP Family Tree if you want to rewatch the live stream. Thanks for joining, you guys. Caryn, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. It was nice to meet all of you.
Talk to you guys soon.
Bye.